Hey there, fellas. So here's what we'll be doing. I've got this red Porsche of ours right here, and we've decided to jump right into it without delay. So today we'll be working on this thing. We're gonna hack it, figure out where and what to do, what's gonna fit. Okay, so we've taken the car into Dennis's shed, and this is where things get interesting. But then what do I mean by interesting? We'll be cutting, hammering, welding, same as always. Disemboweling. Yeah, that too. Cutting it to pieces. That is definitely on the menu. You wanna maybe just leave the engine in there? I think we'll just cut it right in the middle, like we discussed yesterday, and separate the halves. V12 Monster Zaporozhets build by Garage54. Originally uploaded in 2017. Translation and voiceover by BMI Russian. Here's the situation, fellows. As you might imagine, using the Porsche suspension is pretty pointless. I mean, it'll immediately fall apart. Not to mention you can't get decent axle shafts or brakes. The hubs are gonna be subpar. And so here's what we'll be doing. We went out and bought the full rear suspension assembly, including the subframe, links, struts, springs, and all of that, for a diesel Mark II derivative. So this actually has... What's this running anyway? I thought I heard something about a helical limited slip. Yeah, it's some kind of limited slip if I understand correctly. The boys said we won't even have to weld it. Like, it'll give us good traction as is. I guess we'll see once we slap it on. We can always weld it up if needed. Okay, so what sorts of complications are we dealing with? We are mainly focusing on this back here. So we're currently in the process of making the cockpit frame, which is going to tie into a dedicated frame for the engine, as well as for this subframe that we're going to bolt to it. Our main task in this area would be to mount the struts, work the frame around them, right? Make sure the suspension works properly. And then we're going to be installing the body panels. Yeah, we'll basically be building the car around the frame. Sure. The exterior. We're going to make it look good. We'll try to run at least a 30-centimeter prop shaft, to have some semblance of one. Enough talk, let's get back to work. So I'm expecting the car to be in excess of 6 meters long. Or not in excess of, but somewhere around there. Around 6 meters, yeah. Then again, something tells me, why not extend the hood while we're at it? So a very crucial task right now would be to piece together a frame. Get a level cradle going, but with no reinforcement for the time being. We'll set everything onto jacks and props, make sure it's all in the correct position, and only begin the reinforcing after we know what it's all gonna look like. Okay, we doing this? We doing this. Okay, so here's what we've put together. It is a tad low, of course, plus I think we wanted the thing to be shorter. We changed our minds. How did that happen? The engine made us reconsider our choices. So we weren't able to keep it small, and this is what we're looking at. The engine is in place, as you can see. So is the rear subframe. We're looking pretty good. We've decided to keep these wheels. I mean, they do look good. I absolutely love their multi-spoke design. Should we maybe do a quick recap of what we've done? First of all, we've built a new frame and tied it into the interior cage. We welded in some bracing, though we're not quite done with that yet. Because when we were moving the engine around, we noticed that it's still a bit weak. Yeah, it was a bit squeaky. It requires reinforcement. There's quite a bit of welding left to do. We've got the cladding lying next to the car, but we don't know yet how we're gonna fit it. I'm sure we'll figure it out. So the plan is to remove the engine, to ease a bit of load off the frame, and set it on its side. The idea is to reinforce the lower welds add some bracing, and increase the stiffness of the frame. So yeah, we remove the rear suspension, the engine, the whole thing will become lighter, and we'll be able to easily flip the car over. And once we're done, we'll set it back down. Then we're gonna fit the fuel tank, the radiator, an external fuel pump. The reasoning behind that being, we've decided to go with the stock Zaporozhets fuel tank. The one we have looks pretty good, but it's not made for an in-tank fuel pump. Come on, let's be honest, this one just isn't full of holes yet. I mean, screw trying to find a decent new one. Might as well use the one we already have. Yeah, we also want to test fit the exterior skin, though we might have to look for another donor car if we run out of it. We'll find one. So yeah, this is all rather complicated. I shouldn't say it's not, but we're getting there. Though honestly, guys, this is very tedious, and there is just so much work involved. This is way more interesting to watch, so let's carry on. We're looking good here, guys. We're looking really good, right, Dennis? So here's what we've done. We've rolled the Zapper. Wait, why Zapper when it's a Porsche? We've rolled out the Porsche, removed the rear suspension, propped up the rear end. Here we have the separate subframe. And now it's time for some paint. We're ready, time to get to work. Here's what we're looking at, people. We have painted the frame on this craft red, and we've made it a bit longer. We've added a trunk. This right here is a radiator support. The radiator is going to be at an angle to scoop the air in. Here we have the factory Zaporozhets fuel tank, and it is a really good fit. We're currently working on the wiring for the engine. It'll obviously need a power supply. We're in the process of preparing the engine for startup. We've already begun doing some work on the wiring. The journey continues. Okay, people, we're ready to try starting the engine. This is a pretty exciting moment. We've poured in 20 liters of fuel, we have a supply and return fuel line, and we are ready to rumble. Let's give this a try. That's the fuel pump. It did give us a cough. Well, are you gonna start or what? We must have missed something. Okay, well, we were unable to start the engine. We can't seem to figure out what the problem is. Mind you, our wiring experts are not at fault here. These guys are definitely worth their salt. The problem is this one GZ is running a very sophisticated dual ECU setup. Which is why we went ahead and separated the harness from the engine and sent it to the guys over at NVA Motors. They have the harness, but in the meantime, we've also done a few things. Now, in order to remove the harness, we had to dismantle quite a bit on this engine. As you can see, the intake manifolds are missing, together with the throttle bodies, and now we have access to the sensors, injectors, and the rest of that. It's all in a state of disarray, but hey, what can you do? Given that we don't have any dust in here, we didn't even block anything off. Whatever dust was there, we didn't bother to remove. We decided not to touch it so it wouldn't find its way inside. I do think we should vacuum it, though. Yeah, we definitely should. As for the bodywork, let me give you a quick rundown of what we've done. This over here is pretty interesting. Now, I'm not sure, but this might be the shortest prop shaft in the world. There it is right there. I'd say it's the shortest one with a uni joint and a support bearing. Yeah, sounds about right. The one on Shorty is even shorter. Oh yeah, that one is like 300 mil? Right, what else have we done? The radiator is in place, and we've routed the cooling pipes. Well, more like we've got a rough outline going. It's all approximate for the time being. But I mean, as usual, everything that's temporary stays there permanently. Definitely. Okay, awesome, it's all good. The fuel tank and radiator are in position, but the coolest part has to be the muffler situation. We've come up with sort of a trick setup, actually. Why don't we show the people? We've got cutouts for them in the fenders, and it's quite interesting. This right here is a piece of hood. I mean, you can't call it a trunk lid, right? Since this used to be the engine bay, so it's a hood. This was narrowed somewhat because, yeah, we've cut out these bits, which are gonna... Okay, so we've finally taken delivery of the wiring harness. We haven't even unpacked it yet. The guys over at NVA Motors, they've done a good job. Oh man, they're legends. Mad props to those guys. Okay, let's see what we got. Carefully removing it. Good stuff, this is so nice. And they've already hooked up the gas pedal. This appears to be... The ECUs are separate. They've labeled all of the wires. Which ones go to which sensors. Here are the relays. And the fuse box. They've marked all of this up as well. The wires are nice and robust. Fuse box, relays. It's all there. I think it's time to start it, right? I'm sure that everybody wants to see the car drive already. Or at least start, I mean... Us included, right? Yeah, enough talk, let's slap it on. Okay guys, we've installed the wiring harness. It was pretty much just a matter of plugging it in, that's easy enough. It's not all that complicated. However, even though the guys labeled everything, honestly, well, you know how it goes with wiring. You realize it's a serious matter only after getting electrocuted. Which is why we've decided to call Sanya in to help us out. He literally just hooked everything up, and this is legit gonna be the first start. Come on, dude, let her rip. Ready for takeoff, stand clear, and all of that jazz. Yes, finally! What a beast, man! And that, my friends, concludes this episode. We're gonna finish the build, fit an exhaust, pour in some coolant, do the brakes, install a gear selector, fit a couch? I don't think so. I think we need a pallet of bricks. Anyway, that's it for this one. Watch us, comment, subscribe, send in your suggestions. Alright, catch you later. Bye.